Hello. Good morning to all of you. To those of you here in the sanctuary, there's a good number of you. Nice to see you. And to those of you who are watching at a different place or time, it's good to be with you. I'm Hilary Clark, and I'm one of a team of worship associates that have the honor of serving South Church and all of you, along with our settled minister, Ellen, the Reverend Ellen Quadros, and the director of Lifespan Ministry, Kirsten Hunter. It takes many hands to create and offer Sunday service, both staff and congregants. We couldn't do it without all of us. I would like to begin this service by acknowledging the Wabanaki and Pennacook people on whose homeland this sanctuary was built. They did not cede this land to the colonizers. I hold deep gratitude for their ancestors who stewarded this land for thousands of years, knowing we are all related and that we must care for each other. We need the Wabanaki and Pennacook people. We need their wisdom. We need to support them as they continue to work for justice and self-determination. So, welcome to South Church, whether this is your first time or one of thousands. You are welcome. We welcome you in all your perfections and imperfections. We welcome you no matter whom you love. We welcome you no matter whom you vote for. We welcome you. Today, the service is brought to you by Tom Barry. Tom has been an active and contributing member of South Church for 9 years. During his time, you may have seen him in the kitchen ministry, as a fellowship associate, and chairing the annual budget campaign, from which he is now retired. You may have been in a small group with him or seen him at winter or summer retreats. And speaking of retreats, Tom still is working for us, and he's currently serving as registrar for South Church's Star Island retreat at the end of July. Any questions? You can see him. He loves our community's commitment to its children and youth, having served as mentor for our Coming of Age program and acting as an all-around booster of all things RE. Thank you, Tom. He lives in South Berwick, where he enjoys spending time with his family, both in the woods and on the water. Today, Time for All Ages is brought to us by Jen Del Deo-Barry, Director of Religious Education. And after the story, all the children are invited to go downstairs for RE. The music is graciously offered by our Director of Music Ministry, Jonny Pieffer, and our Office Administrator, Jen Leyden. Currently, we're offering social hour outside in the portico. If you need a listening device, a large print hymnal, or coloring materials, you can access those at the back of the church or ask an usher. And now we will have announcements by Jen.
Good morning. Good morning. 2 quick announcements today, but please do make sure to read all of them in your order of service. Just going to lift up that the South Church Book Group will be hosting an all-church read and potluck. It's not until September 11th, but telling you now gives you time to find the book and read it. The book will be See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love, which is an incredible book by Valerie Cower. The other announcement today is that we'll be having an amazing summer camp-like program for kids of all ages in August. Registration is open now. Some information in the order of service for the Happy Hearts program, but definitely ask me if you have questions. It's open to any kids, not just South Church kids, so you can tell your friends, and it will be really fun. Thank you.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation through all the tumult the strife. I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
Today, the chalice will be lit by 3 amazing young women who we might be related to. Maisie and Onyx Del Deo and Sarah Clark Hamill. So if you'd like to come up behind the chalice. As we light the chalice in the sanctuary, we invite you to light a chalice in your home if you're watching remotely. We light the chalice to these words from the sages Tao Te Ching, a new interpretation by William Martin. We are a river. Our life has not been an ascent up one side of a mountain and down the other. We did not reach a peak only to decline and die. We've been as drops of water, born in the ocean and sprinkled on the earth in a gentle rain. We become a spring, and then a stream, and finally a river flowing deeper and stronger, nourishing all it touches as it nears its home once again. And you guys stay there until we do the mission statement. Please rise as you are able, and we will recite the mission statement that is in your order of service or on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. Thank you. My heart has been heavy these days. Not every day, not all the time, but the heaviness seems to come to the surface and make itself known most days. Some is due to listening to the news or worry about our world, but it's also closer to home. It's the recent deaths of beloved people in the congregation and the death of my mother. When I need help navigating these waters of my life, I often turn to these words written by Helen Keller. We cannot choose what life will bring us of joy, of pain, but what our souls bring to meet the challenge. This is in our power. For those of you who don't know Helen Keller, she lost all sight and hearing at the age of 19 months after an illness. Yet she attended Radcliffe University, became an accomplished author, political activist, and lecturer. This quote was written in a young boy's autograph book in December 1926, when she was 46, halfway through her life. I shared this quote with you 4 years ago when I began my journey as a worship associate, and it seems fitting that I share it with you today, my last offering in this position. The day before I started writing this, I read a journal entry, the journal entry of a friend. He thought they were his last words before his death because hospice had just told him he would be transitioning soon. He'd been journaling about his life and lessons learned, but now he had last words he wanted to share, and these are part of what he wanted us to know. Erik wrote, "Isn't it all pretty obvious? If you cannot change your circumstances, accept whatever is unpleasant to you, and you will not suffer. Allow what you love to pass away. We have to practice again and again and again. If you're suffering, it means you want something. Let the wanting go and watch the suffering go. Loss is certain. Accept loss if it can't be changed, and by your acceptance, you free yourself from suffering. Identify what you fear most. Imagine what you fear most is actually happening and you cannot change it. Imagine that you accept, even a little, the thing you fear most as it happens. Notice how the fear lessens and how your suffering lessens. My mother didn't study the Buddhist path that Erik was on, though her path looked very similar. She would have called her philosophy, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. A stoic New Englander, she mourned her losses and then she continued living. When Mom could no longer play tennis, she switched to ping pong, and she was really good. When she couldn't walk safely outdoors, she bought an indoor exercise bike, which she used religiously, half an hour to an hour a day up until shortly before her death at 96. When the rigor of being in a women's madrigal group became too much, she was content with her by-your-side singers. When she could no longer drive, she increased the number of times she had people over for tea and light lunch. When she was 90, her beloved dog died, and she found somebody to help her get another dog. As all of her contemporaries were dying, she nurtured relationships with younger people. She lived her life to the fullest until she no longer could. When that time came, when every day was a struggle, she said she was ready. She wasn't afraid. Over the next year, she made sure her affairs were in order. She made notes and gave special gifts to people who had helped her along the way: her cleaning person, her dog walkers, her final caretaker, her dearest friends. She allowed by-your-side singers to sing to her, though she had to sing along. She had a constant string of visitors, and until the end, she would inquire about their children, their dog, their lives. Her last words to me and my siblings were, "It's all right. Everything is all right." The day after my mom died and we had left her house, one of her many friends left a message on her answering machine. Mo had just finished making the bacon. It turns out April 13th was their biannual Bacon Day, a day when my mom would no longer worry about her weight and she would let herself eat bacon. May we all be blessed with the ability to accept the path that unfolds before us. May we live each day with gratitude, and may we all have a Bacon Day we celebrate with a dear friend. May it be so. Please rise as you are able and join us in singing our opening music, number 1064 in the Blue Hymnal, Blue Boat Home.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can stay. I've been sailing all my life, and never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions in the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Okay, time to invite all kids who would like to have a time for all ages and anybody else who would like to come up to join me in this space up here. And today I have invited a special superhero guest to help with the time for all ages because we have some kind of exciting UU news to share. Will you help me? All right, flying in from the RE downstairs classroom is our beloved jet pig. Co-created by Cynthia and Lance and others. Jet pig has been helping us in the RE classroom to learn about the Article 2 Commission and their work to identify who we intend to be as Unitarian Universalists, because we recognize that this has to change over time. And so that's been the work for multiple years now, and we all had been invited over that whole process to contribute and engage in deciding who we feel like we should be working toward and our values. And just a week ago, we as UUs voted to accept the official Article 2 values. Yay! It's a big process. So, do you have something to say, Camille?
Well, I lost my tooth last night.
Camille lost her tooth. Let's all celebrate that. Congratulations. So, our South Church kids have been learning about the Article 2 values in the classroom since October. We've worked hard, we've learned about all of them, and we'll keep learning. But we want to share with all of you now. Sasha's going to help. And the reason that the way that Jet Pig helps is Jet Pig's name spells out the values. And so it's a really easy way to remember what these values are. The 7 principles, or 8 principles that we've been working on before this were always hard to remember. And I think we all kind of know what they meant, but it was really hard to articulate. So now these new values are much easier for us to say, this is what we believe as a people. So let's figure out what these values are. We'll start with J for Jet Pig. Does anyone know what J, anyone in this entire building, know what the J stands for? Justice. So Sasha's going to add our banners. You can start at the top. All right. Next letter, E. Thank you, Claire. Equity. I'll do that part if you do this part. Justice, equity. Next letter is T. This is a tricky one. What does T stand for? Truth is great. It's not the official value. I appreciate people's vulnerability in guessing. Allie. Transformation. I'll do that. All right, we've got jet. How about P? Peace is another really good one. I wish we had like 15 values, but some of those are implied in these, right? Yeah, but the ones we're naming, pluralism, thank you. Okay, next letter is I. Who knows what I stands for? Inclusion is another excellent choice, and again, it's implied in these. Share. Integrity, another excellent choice. Interdependence. She just guessed that. She's here visiting today, and but she knows it. inherited it from her mama. All right, and what's our last letter? We've got J-E-T-P-I-G. What does G stand for in our values? Groovy. Camille suggested generosity. We're gonna go with generosity. Jetpig is really groovy though. So we have Jetpig spelled out here. That's 6 values, right? There's actually one more. We have 7 values. And this is the one that fuels Jetpig. It's the one that's at the center and is maybe even the most important one. Love. So we have love on the jetpack. So it's official. These 7 values and the ones that you named that are implied are what we as UUs name as who we are aspiring to be as people together. This is our guiding force right here. And thank you to Jetpig for helping us learn that. And thank you to all the kids who have been learning really attentively and contributing well to helping us learn all these all year. And thank you for sharing with the grown-ups today. So now we're actually going to go outside today because it's beautiful and do some exploring.
It is now time for the offering, time for us to support the good work of this church and the programs here. In the months with 5 Sundays, and today is a 5th Sunday, the Board of Trustees approved the use of the entire collection plate towards paying down the principal on a loan we took out to upgrade South Church and the Meeting House. In addition, a small group of South Church members has offered a $3,000 matching challenge to the congregation. For every dollar collected, they will, on the 5th Sundays, they will match it up to $3,000. Thank you, donors. There are many ways to give. In person, by mail, or Venco. You can go to our website, southchurch-uu.org, or use the QR code in your order of service. Please give as you are able. Your donation helps us to live our mission. The offering will now be gratefully received.
we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
As we move into a time of community care, of quiet and reflection, of prayer and meditation, let us gather our hearts and minds. I would like to offer you a piece from a favorite author of mine, Brian Doyle, called Two Hearts. Two Hearts by Brian Doyle. Some months ago, my wife delivered twin sons 1 minute apart. The older is Joseph and the younger is Liam. Joseph is dark and Liam is light. Joseph is healthy and Liam is not. Joseph has a whole heart and Liam has half. This means that Liam will have 2 major surgeries before he is 3 years old. I have read many pamphlets about Liam's problems. I have watched many doctors' hands drawing red and blue lines on white pieces of paper. They are trying to show me why Liam's heart does not work properly. I watch the markers in the doctor's hands. Here comes red. There goes blue. The heart is a railroad station where the trains are switched to different tracks. A normal heart switches trains flawlessly 2 billion times in a life. In an abnormal heart, like Liam's, the trains crash and the stations crumble to dust. So there are many nights now when I tuck Liam and his wheezing train station under my beard in the blue hours of night and think about his maker. I would kill the God who sentenced him to such awful pain. I would stab him in the heart like he stabbed my son. I would shove my fury in his face like a fist, but I know in my own broken heart that this same God made my magic boys, shaped their apple faces and coyote eyes, put joy in the eager suck of their mouths. So it is that my hands are not clenched in anger, but clasped in confusion and merry and bitter prayer. I talk to God more than I admit. Why did you break my boy? I ask. I gave you that boy, he says, and his lean brother, and the elfin daughter you love so. But you wrote death on his heart, I say. I write death on all hearts, he says, just as I write life. This is where the conversation always ends, and I am left holding the extraordinary, awful, perfect prayer of my second son, who snores like a seal, who might die tomorrow, who did not die today. I now want to offer you, our community, space for personal reflection, a time to connect with your heart and with your mind, to lift up a personal joy in your life, or perhaps to lift your heart while contemplating something that is challenging you or someone you love. If you'd like, you may light a candle to represent the spirit within you, your loved ones, the love within and among us here today. Or you may choose to sit in quiet reflection, feeling the warmth of our community during personal contemplation. Good morning. Before I get started, I would like to first welcome and celebrate my parents, John and Barbara Barry, who have joined us in person this morning on their 51st wedding anniversary. It is truly an honor to mark this moment with you both while standing on the same chancel upon which I was married. We are blessed to be surrounded by your lifetime of love. Congratulations, and I love you both. Good morning. By my anecdotal observations, it's been a number of years since South Church has had a good sermon related to fly fishing. So I first set out to do just that. Draft a sermon with a good fishing story, relating it to this month's theme of renewal. That shouldn't be too hard, I thought to myself. I have a bunch of good fishing stories, and I've done some renewing in my day. All I got to do is connect the dots between my lifelong love of biology, leading to my love of fly fishing, and share a few anecdotes I learned along the way. Boom, done, easy. But I tried, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel complete. It wasn't well-rounded. Okay, back to the drawing board. Perhaps not too surprisingly, my next attempt at drafting this sermon focused around boating. Natural. Not too far a stretch for a fisherman to naturally think about boating, I guess. Access to more fish. This time, I tried to relate my experiences over the past dozen years as a new boat owner to my life experiences. I even worked up some lessons to share around currents and tides and wind, all making for interesting moments on the water. Some of you may know our Piscataqua River has some incredibly powerful currents. I even worked up some lessons, like I said. Share with you how it's important to define your float plan. A float plan contains information regarding your location, timing, what you're going to do on the water, how you're going to prepare, how you're going to remain safe, and you share that with loved ones, keeping you safe, providing them with peace of mind. Maybe I'll come back to this, but I couldn't get it quite right. For now, next topic. This is my process last weekend. Having celebrated my birthday this past week, that's it. I thought, it's a birthday sermon. My birthday was great. My girls threw me a Garfield-themed birthday party, complete with lasagna on the front porch, made by the lovely Onyx Del Deo. Thoughtful gifts, all followed by peanut butter cup ice cream cake. I heard from old friends and family with well wishes and love. It was the type of birthday adult dreams are made of. Celebrating the anniversary of one's birth is a natural opportunity to take stock of things. Take a breath, take a pause, and look around you. Move out from under the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month rhythm of our lives and check in with yourself. Over the past few weeks, I had just this opportunity, an opportunity to check in with myself, take stock, evaluate, reflect. I spent a few days up in western Maine fly fishing for native brook trout and landlocked salmon with my best fishing buddies, my father, my friend Matt, and my old scoutmaster. Then home to a house made quiet by the absence of all of its people and all of its animals except me for a few days. This experience was a wild departure from the jam-packed family calendar we've kept for close to 2 months now, full with many end-of-year and coming-of-age experiences, most celebratory, a few less so. In these quiet moments, my mind kept coming back to water. I have always loved water. I remember being fascinated by the water cycle in school: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, collection. A few years later, we learned water is essential to life as we know it, regulating temperature, providing structure, transporting of nutrients, to name a few. One thing I didn't need to learn, because I just knew it, was how water made me feel. Connected, fascinated, renewed, calmed, invigorated, alive. Indelible memories of childhood spent in and around water at Greenfield State Park, at Newfound Lake, a family favorite location, neighborhood pools, and even our front yard running through the sprinkler on hot summer nights. Hours spent in deep nature connection as a boy in the neighborhood marsh, until Mom rang the dinner bell to come home for dinner. I was a true child of the 80s, free reign. Thank you for bringing that. It's no wonder that water has strongly influenced my most cherished hobbies, educational choices, and ultimately impacted my career path. Heck, on our first date, I even took my now wife out on my boat. Water is everything. Water is life. Water renews. Water represents the foundation upon which we journey through our lives. Now that I'm closer to 50 than 40, I am firmly in midlife. As the captain of my journey, I have spent time recently reflecting on my life. How are the waters throughout my life? What is my float plan? Moving from young adulthood into adulthood was a busy time. It was one of great uncertainty in life for me, like most people in their early 20s. This part of the journey can feel like whitewater rapids, relentless, fast, chaotic, created by lots of energy, requiring lots of energy to navigate. Such was life in the water conditions of my 20s and early 30s. I was contemplating questions like, what will I do for a career? When and where will I settle down? Will I meet a partner? Will I be a father? By my mid-30s, my river widened and slowed a bit, still a little rough in the center channel. I had the whole starting my career thing down, thank you, water, but all else was on the table. I was steaming ahead with only a partially working compass and no defined final destination. I was trying to chart the final course, but only knew the next port of call. It was all going relatively well until an iceberg appeared on the immediate horizon, my Titanic moment. A brain tumor diagnosis at 36-year-old. Definitely not on the float plan, how I thought, hoped, and planned my life would go. I preached on this before, so I won't belabor the point. Simply put, I changed. I adapted to the moment. I sought out quiet, reflective, calm settings and activities. Moved into an eddy on the river of life, as it were. I started a mindfulness practice. I leaned into gratitude practice. I went out less. I stayed in more. I started coming to South Church. I started to ask myself more existential questions. What are my beliefs? How do I want to live my life? What values are most important to me? Am I living my life in accordance to those values? Although they had always been important, family and friendships became paramount. I started to initiate honest, open dialogues in my relationships more freely. I started to actually ask for things I needed. I restarted therapy to work through the trauma I was experiencing. I was attending South Church regularly and became a member after taking our warm and informative Journey to Membership class every spring, every fall. I had an 8.5-hour complex, successful brain surgery, which removed 90% of the tumor and confirmed its benign status. All of these were updates to my life's float plan, handled out of necessity. Fast forward several years through my initial surgery, the water was starting to be a little smoother until a new obstacle popped up. I had been celebrating a milestone birthday with friends, 40, in my backyard when I received some not so great results via email from what was supposed to be a routine brain scan. I was scared and had every reason to be. 6 months later, I was back for a second brain surgery. I was 40 years old. Again, that wasn't supposed to happen. I do not share this with you for sympathy. We all have these updates to our respective float plans. Unfortunately, in this life, it's not if we'll experience personal challenges, it's when. Many have come today to this church with a challenge on their mind. Cancer, depression, addiction, discrimination, disability, challenging family dynamics, financial or food insecurity, worry about the long impacts of climate change, the world's current geopolitical unrest. I know I came with one today. Well, to be honest, I came with several, but one I will share. Last month, I was scheduled for a routine brain scan to keep our eyes on the tumor site. We, my lovely first mate, my wife and I, had fully expected and planned for smooth sailing, which looked like receiving a clean scan result. All fair tides and following seas, as they say. We've been hoping to hear the refrain, "See you again in 3 years, Tom, for your next routine brain scan." But, you guessed it, we didn't quite get what we'd hoped for. Sound familiar? Instead, we got some mixed scan results. One professional believes they saw some growth in the tumor area. Another professional disagreed. Well, shoot, right? Our desire for the next scan being scheduled out 3 years was dashed. Instead, they'd like to see me again in 6 months' time for another scan. After receiving the results, we ended the virtual appointment with my surgeon. We shared honest conversation and shared how we were feeling: angry, scared, concerned, sad, hopeful. I felt myself getting slowly pulled back into the whirlpool of all the bad things, navigating through the what-if rapids. But in a twist of fate, we didn't have long to dwell on the news. We were leaving that night for a trip out of the country, a long-planned trip that included some quality time together doing something we absolutely love, exploring new places on foot together, sharing experiences, and being outdoors. Something very interesting happened to us while we were on that trip. We stopped planning, we stopped ruminating, and we just lived. I hardly thought about the scan results. We didn't talk about them much. We certainly didn't dwell on them. We were present, together, in those wonderful moments travel provides. New landscapes, new animals, new foods, new people, new experiences. Without knowing it or planning it, we use the scan results as an opportunity to celebrate life. This unanticipated news served as a motivator. amplifying and deepening our connections to those moments, to life. That was our new float plan. Upon boarding the train for the flight home, independently, we had both started to turn our thoughts back home. And of course, the results of the recent scan were top of mind, no pun intended. Brain tumors can be funny. Instead of drowning in those thoughts alone, we brought them to the surface through gentle conversation with one another. How are you feeling? What does life look like when we land? Through tender and loving discussion, we shared with one another these recent medical results represented an opportunity to live a richer and fuller life, a life guided by intention. We committed to one another to check in frequently. How are you doing? How are we doing? Are we living the way we want to live? Are we living by our values? Are we spending our precious time doing the things we love? Seeing the people we love? Continually renewing, always with love at the center. And now, dear congregation, I ask you to contemplate your life's journey. How is the water you are on? Is it rough? Is it placid? Are there obstacles up ahead? What can you do to stay afloat? What can you do to stay moving downstream? Have you filed a float plan? Who's on your crew? When will you arrive at your next stop? When will you re-provision? What's your final destination? Have you shared that plan with those you love? How do you keep that float plan updated? What navigation tools are you using? What is your true north? Do you need to reorient, re-benchmark? I often do. 1 week ago today, we changed our collective UU float plan. After a democratic process involving thousands of UUs discussing our faith's values and core theology, over the past 3+ years, delegates at General Assembly 2024 voted decisively to approve a new statement of values and beliefs for Unitarian Universalism. The new values, our friend Jet Pig, are justice, equity, transformation, I love peace, but pluralism, interdependence, generosity, centered around love. As we heard from today's Time for All Ages, in keeping with the tradition of our faith, our youth are ahead of the curve, and the children in our religious education classes have been learning about these new values all year. These are the values of our collective true north to guide our UU journeys, and therefore our lives. I'm happy to be sharing the water with each and every one of you as we continue on our learning journeys together. I wish you fair tides and following seas. May love be our compass. Now, may you please stand and join us in I'll Fly Away with lyrics in your orders of service.
Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by I'll fly away. When the shadows of this life have gone, I'll fly away. Like a bird from prison bars has flown, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by I'll fly away.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I'd like to close our time of collective worship with a poem from the Irish poet, author, priest, and philosopher, John O'Donoghue. Fluent. I would love to live like a river flows, carried by surprise of its own unfolding. May we go forth from this place with courage and love. May we honor the past, live fully in the present, and build toward a just future. May it be so.
Keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. You can sing with me. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open, though the waves wanna push me around. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open, though the waves wanna push me around. We gotta keep our hearts wide open till our faith brings us back to solid ground. We gotta keep our hearts wide open till our faith brings us back to solid ground. We gotta keep our hearts wide open till our faith brings us back to solid ground.